This video has been designed to teach you all of the basic information you need to start your editing journey. We're going to go from the start to the finish of editing short form content. This will include layout and how to maneuver quickly, cutting, the inspect panel, key binding, video transitions, B-roll, motion graphics, and lastly sound effects. Once we finish our video, I'm going to show you how to render and export, and we'll be done. Let's get right into it. This is your DaVinci page. We have 7 main sections. These first 2 aren't going to be useful. This is your main editing page where everything is done. This is your timeline where the majority of your work is done and you're going to place your clips. This is the Fusion page. We're not going to cover this today. This is the color grading page. Pretty self-explanatory, but there's a few effects on here that are very useful. This is for audio. We're not going to cover this today as a lot of what you can do on here can be done in here. And this is the finalizing process. This is where you're going to name your video, make sure it's all correct, and put it into a file. Here are a few things you can do to maneuver around quickly. First of all, we're going to make sure that the video is in the correct format. So we're going to Shift 9, which will open up this panel right here. Use vertical resolution because we're editing short form content for a phone, and that is done. Second of all, to maneuver along your timeline quickly like this, you want to control and scroll with your mouse so you don't have to keep coming down here to grab this. This slider right here expands or contracts your entire video, so you can see it in greater detail or it's compressed and you can skip over it a bit more quickly. You can also do this by pressing Alt and Shift. As you can see, it is moving. Right here we have the media panel. This is where you're going to input all of your clips, all of your audio, all of your pictures, everything you need, and you're going to drag it straight onto your timeline. Let's get started with the cutting section. This right here is the section of the video that I want to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut right here where there is no audio. I can tell this because this is an audio wave and we can see here there is none. And this is the end of the audio right here where the audio waves end. Now here, in between these words, there's a lot of empty space. So what I'm going to do is cut out this empty space here, here, and here. I'm going to press A on my selector tool, select the bits I don't want, and press delete. It will delete this and it will drag this back. If I was to select and press backspace, it would do this, and I'd have to select this and do it again. However, it's quicker just to select and then delete. A fellow like me made living online in just 2 weeks. I'm now going to get the rest of my media on the timeline and cut it all up. If we make a mistake like I just did there, I cut the audio off too quickly, you Control and Z, which will take back what you've just previously done. Another way to cut the video where you want it is Control B, and it will cut it where my timeline is. This is a segment of the video which I want to use elsewhere, not at the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and select these clips, Control C to copy them, and what I can do now is scroll out and maneuver to where I want them. Let's say I want them in between these 2 clips. Select these, move them along, Control V will paste it down here, and then we just close that space, and now this section that I wanted is in the middle of the video. Now we can delete this. Now we have the base of the video. Now moving on to the inspector panel, which is right here. This is going to move your video in, out, left to right, and up and down, as well as many other things. You can crop it, you can spin it on a rotation angle, you can change the speed here by dragging this. Firstly, zooming. So I want to zoom into this, so I select this part of the clip, and this part of the clip will now be in the inspector panel. And to zoom in, I click here on X, zoom, and I drag to the right. And to zoom back out, I click and I drag to the left. If I want to move left and right, I have to click on position X. Right goes right and left goes left. Up and down, position Y. Right is up, left is down. Rotation angle here. Then you have many other things here. Cropping here. You can take some of your video away. And now I've messed my video up. So I want to reset all of it, which is going to be done here. I can also individually reset things by pressing these ones here. And you can do that with all of these. So what I wanted to do, zoom in and center my face. Lovely, as it is. And now you can see it just makes a bit of a difference between these 2 clips to keep the viewer engaged so they don't scroll off, and it sort of is a change of scenery. I'm now going to go through the rest of the video and put in zooms where they want to be, you know, in key sections of the video where someone's saying a hook, someone's saying a joke, someone's saying something important, things like that. Now we're going to start with key binding. Some people find this tricky, but I'm going to explain it in such a way that you're going to understand. This is where you get 2 points in a selected clip, and the value of any which thing is changing. This is used for zooming in, zooming out over time. This is used on effects to strengthen and weaken them. This is used on audio to have it go from high to low or low to high, and also to pan. Something in which this is used very often is motion graphics. If you want something to start off the screen, slide on and then back off. And once you get the basics, it's going to be a lot easier and you can experiment and you can start learning new skills. Today, we're going to be starting with something simple. We're just going to be gradually zooming out using keybinds. I'm going to zoom in at the start of my clip. And I'm going to create the first keybind by pressing this square. And to view the keybinds, we press this button right here, and you can see I've created this. I'm going to move this to where I want to stop zooming out, which is right here. Then I'm going to zoom back out to where I want the zooming out to finish, which is right here. And now we'll start zoomed in, and gradually over these 2 points we're going to zoom out. Simple. And if I want to speed that up, I grab the second point where it's zoomed out and I move it closer. So that happens over a shorter period of time. And if I want it to happen over a longer period of time, like this, it's going to gradually do it a lot slower. This pretty much covers the basics of key binding. Let's move on to our video transitions. These are used to keep the viewer entertained as they're visually pleasing, and also to smooth out the joining of 2 clips. So this is where we want our first transition, where we're moving from this section to this section. And what we're going to do is we're going to go on Effects, Video Transitions here, and to preview you want to go into the middle of the clip here and just hover over, and it will show you what the video transition looks like. Some of these are very ugly and you don't want to use them. One that I like to use is dissolve blur. You just click it and you drag it onto the video where you want it to be. And here we can see the effect is quite long. We don't want it to be that long. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab the edge of it and just shorten it like this. Now it's a lot quicker. However, you don't want to use the same effect over again because this will get boring. We're going to use a different one here. We're going to slide down. I'm going to place this here and shorten it. And on little bits like this, you don't need a video transition. We're going to add the rotate here, and that'll do it for video transitions. This is quite simple. Just have a little play around and see what you think looks good. And stay away from disgusting transitions like this, or like that. Okay, now moving on to motion graphics. In B-roll, I'm going to show you a simple motion graphic first. So we're going to grab it from our media pool and put it on our video. And this is where we want it to start. So what we're going to do is drag it slightly beforehand, so we have room here to create our key binding to where it's going to slide onto the screen. We're going to get it into position to how we want it to look. I want it to be right here. We're going to create our key binding, slide this back and slide it off the screen. And as you can see now, it will slide onto the screen. And obviously you can change how quickly it does this, like that. And I want it to come off the screen as well. So I'm going to delete the rest of this clip because I don't want it here. And this is very important. You want to create another key binding here, because this will keep it in this position. If I was to create a key binding here off the screen, it would gradually come off the screen over here. So we create another key bind here to keep it in this position, move it forwards, and we move it back off the screen again, like so. And now you can see, this is what it looks like. Okay, now moving on to the B-roll. This is very simple. What we do here is we have our selected clip here. We can double click on it just to preview it here. And I only want this part of the video here. So I press I for an input, O for output. And when I drag it on, now only that selection, only that part of that video is going to be coming onto our timeline. And these B-rolls only want to be about a second long, really. Cut out around a second here. You know, if they're a bit under, it's okay. And we're just going to position this so it's correct. Now you can see our motion graphic and our B-roll. Sliding on. Let's move on to sound effects. These are used when going through a video transition, when a motion graphic is coming onto the screen or off the screen. When something happens like money, you want to use the cha-ching noise, anything you can think of. If you need examples, scroll social media and really pay attention to the editing and you'll find lots of examples and when you can use all these different sound effects and motion graphics. I'm going to show you a few examples now of what I'm going to do to this video here. To make this easier for yourself, you want to grab the bottom of the audio panel here and you want to make this smaller so then you have more room here to work with. I'm going to go and get the noise I want. I'm going to get this, I'm going to drag it straight onto my timeline here. And as you can see, this is very loud, so I'm going to make it quieter by using this white line here and just dragging it down a bit. And I want it to start playing when this money comes onto the screen. I want the sound effect to end here, so I'm going to cut it. And if I want to gradually blend it out, then I grab the little white box at the top and I drag this over and that will gradually blend the sound effect out. This can also be used on videos to gradually change the opacity. When doing these sound effects, if I'm going to put one over a video transition, I don't want to keep using the same sound effect because it sounds boring and it sounds a bit weird to the viewer. So you want to change your sound effects up. Make sure they're not too loud as well because it will hurt your viewers' ears. Getting better at your skill. That's fucking disgusting. Now our video is complete. We have motion graphics, we have a B-roll, we have sound effects, we have video transitions, it's cut up. We are all ready to go. I'm going to show you what it looks like quickly. I'm sorry if it sounds fucking awful. A fellow like me made living online in just 2 weeks. First, I learned how to edit short form content. I need to stop being a cunt as well. Second, I use that skill to find work with a small niche client base. Lastly, just keep getting better at your skill. Doesn't have to be fucking editing, but that's what I chose. There we go. Now we're going to go render this video. We're going to put a title on it, so editing TikTok video. We have it all correct, and we're going to add to render queue. And what this does is it basically chooses where you're going to download it to, and I download mine to this folder here, so we're going to click save in this folder. We're going to render, and your job is done. It's going to save in that file, and you are now a fucking boss editor.